Politicians and celebrities make deals behind closed doors, promises broken, and their income soars. Hidden agendas run the grand parade. In the circus, choose a masquerade. Believe me, I wouldn't lie. I've been given money, power, and fame to keep you in line.
Welcome, everyone, to today's episode. We are joined by Sandra Lena Silverman. She is a Miami-based beauty wellness advocate and author. And Sandra has spent years exploring various skincare products, treatments, procedures in search of the most effective ways to recapture youthful vitality. And we love that. So through her journey, she's gained a deep understanding of how hormonal shifts influence both the physical and the mental health, and how these changes impact beauty and your overall well-being. So we will be getting into that today. If you would like to age gracefully while looking your best, this is a great episode for you. So Sandra, you've experimented with a wide range of skincare products, treatments, procedures, everything. So can you take us through that journey and why it all began?
Yes. I have touched every part of my body except for my left foot. So I decided to write the book because since I've done so many procedures and beauty treatments and reverse aging treatments as well, I decided to write the book to share with other women and also empower them so they can feel good about themselves with doing these procedures or surgeries or treatments, and not feel embarrassed or ashamed or afraid of what society would think, and just be open about them instead of hiding them. And I just thought the book would be a really good way to share my experiences, as well as having experts in the book. So everything is pretty self-explanatory. So each procedure that we talk about, it explains step by step how it's done, what your results would be, if there's scarring, how to, in the end, take care of the scars and camouflage them as well. So the journey for me started when I was 26. The first procedure that I had was actually when I was 27. And it kind of started with a comment that my ex had said to me, where a month into our relationship, he told me that my body was soft and I needed to go to the gym. And that's the first time in my life that I actually felt like there was something wrong and that I needed to fix it. So I think subconsciously, the beginning procedures started with me feeling a little insecure. But as the years went on, I've learned to do the procedures and treatments for myself and not for somebody else.
Out of all the treatments and the products that you've tried, which one has had the most profound impact on the skin?
As far as the skin, my skin changed a lot after I did the CO2. And I've done multiple CO2 lasers. The CO2 is a very intense laser that resurfaces the skin. And I feel like that took layers of not only dead skin, but also did such a good job resurfacing my skin. So I felt like after that, my skin definitely looked a lot younger than it had before.
For the CO2 laser, is that for every skin type, or are there certain skin tones or skin
No,
types?
definitely not. If you have darker skin, I would recommend Pico laser. And if you're just looking for not quite resurfacing, but maybe some pigmentation issues, then the BBL laser is probably better. And it's definitely not more non-invasive than the CO2. So the CO2 is pretty strong. However, there are different levels. So with the CO2, you can actually do a more gentle level where it's not as intense. But if we're darker skin, I would recommend more of the Pico laser.
Oh, okay. I've heard of that one.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never done any lasers, so I'm scared because, when you have
Right.
darker skin, you're always worried about like
Definitely.
hyperpigmentation or something like that.
Yes.
So yeah, so that's why I'm asking. So, what about topical types of skincare products? Were there anything that you found that actually does something?
I really like the Dermamade line. That line has alpha hydroxy pads that I really like. When you do the line consistently and use all parts of the line, morning and night, I feel like the line is really effective. But if you're kind of half-assing it where you're doing maybe the nighttime but not the morning, or you're skipping days or weeks, then I feel like it doesn't work. But if you really do it consistently, I think the line works really well.
Okay. So are there any treatments that you've done that just you do not recommend? They weren't that great. They didn't give you any really results that made them worth the money and the time.
Yes. The two biggest mistakes that I've made, one was called a Y lift, and that is filler. It was the first time I did the procedure, it was really good. It's basically a lot of filler that is used, they use a cannula that goes in like deep into the muscle for lifting purposes. So the first time I did it was great. It lifted my jowls. This is before I had gotten my facelift, and it was perfect. It lasted for 2 years. The second time I did the procedure, the injector basically pie faced me. He put so much filler in my face and turned my face into a pie. It took at least a year for me to dissolve the filler, because since he used the cannula and he went deep, I was kind of stuck. So that was a big mistake, and it caused so much sagginess in my skin. So after I had done that procedure for the second time, that's when I decided to get the facelift, which I felt like was the best decision, because when you get the facelift in your 40s, the surgeon can make you look the most natural as opposed to waiting to your 50s, 60s, or 70s. And that's the best time for them to be able to do it. And it's great for you because then you can maintain as the years go on with maybe just a little bit of filler, a bit of Botox or some threads, but nothing super invasive. The second procedure was, you have to be very careful with liposuction. I did liposuction in my knees and my stomach. And for my knees, it's been an uphill battle because I have so much saggy skin because of that, where I have to get body threads and I have to get filler constantly in my knees. And the stomach, same thing happened, caused so much sagginess. I get a tummy tuck. So if you're going to do the liposuction in the stomach, only do it in conjunction with a tummy tuck, because you are going to have a lot of sagging skin.
Yeah. I also heard that some people get a lot of scar tissue after things like that, procedures like
Mhm.
that. Have you found any way that you can prevent that or deal with it if you already had it?
I have had scar tissue because of procedures, and there is a person in Miami. His name is Abi, and he does a scar tissue treatment, which I've had to have a few times. And I actually talk about that in my book. So he goes in with a needle and breaks up the scar tissue with amniotic fluid. So he's actually watching from a sonogram, and he watches himself go in. He numbs you and goes in with the needle and is literally breaking up the scar tissue. It looks kind of like he's playing a video game, but he's breaking up the scar tissue with amniotic fluid. He's the only person that I know that does this, and it was super effective. So I had some scar tissue issues, and fortunately, I was able to fix that with his procedure. There are other things that you can do to break up the scar tissue. Basically, working with like a connective tissue person, working on the fascia, and they can break up scar tissue manually, but that can be more painful.
Yes. So what about let's see, what kind of other treatments have you found that are really effective for maybe other things? Maybe like to make your hair longer and thicker or whatever, or for like puffiness or anything else?
Lymphatic work. So I do that every day. So before I discovered the lymphatic work, I was very puffy. So because I've had so many procedures, it caused my lymphatic system to not work as well as it should have. So I was always puffy. Even after my facelift, my face was puffy. So during COVID, because I had so much time on my hands, my trainer would come to my house and we would work out outside. And we just started doing the lymphatic work. We had a fascia blaster, just started working with that and a gua sha, and all of a sudden puffiness went away. So I kind of discovered that by accident. And now I don't have the puffiness, but I also 6 days a week.
How
So
many
I think
days a
that's
week?
super, 6. So it's super
6, yeah.
helpful. But I have a lot of issues with my lymphatic system. And I know a lot of people like taking vitamins through an IV. I tried that once. I did an IV with a Myers cocktail 4 weeks, and once a week for 4 weeks. And my face blew up. It was this big around. And there's a picture of it in my book where, and there was nothing I can do. It was, at the time, it was my husband's 50th birthday party. There wasn't anything I could do. I kept trying to do lymphatic work. It wouldn't, the puffiness wouldn't go away. And that's when I realized there's something wrong with my lymphatic system. It can't handle that much saline. So I take vitamins through the just a syringe. I give it to myself. Instead, it's more like a push instead of the IV bags because they don't work for me. So I think people have to be really careful if your lymphatic system doesn't work or you're not doing the lymphatic work, to be careful also with the IV bags as well.
So what are your favorite things to do to help move the lymphatics? Do you do like the dry brushing, like rebounding?
day.
Like, what are your things?
Yes. So every day we do the dry brushing. I use this fascia blaster. It's called Ashley Black is the brand. And we do use that fascia blaster along with kind of like a coffee cream. So I put the coffee cream on like different parts of my body. We use the fascia blaster and a gua sha. So I use a metal gua sha as well. And during like on my body, like where I have certain lymphatic to certain points. And that's been really effective. So between the dry brush, the gua sha, and the fascia blaster, and I also don't have cellulite. I had cellulite before I started doing this. So between all of that work, plus I changed my diet where I'm eating more protein. I doubled my protein from like 50 grams a day to 100, and the weightlifting, all the cellulite is gone. So I've tried all these different cellulite treatments, injections, endermology, whatever, just different procedures, and nothing worked until I actually started doing the hard work, and now the cellulite's completely gone.
That's amazing. So anything for like making your hair thicker or grow longer? Do you do anything like that?
The hair has been an issue for me for a while. I had DHT, which attacked the follicle, and I didn't realize why it wasn't growing, or like in certain spots it was thin. So I went to a doctor in New York, and this was in 2018, and just by the hair pattern, he could see he said, "Oh, you have DHT," without even testing me. And so at that point, he put me on Propecia, and I added Viviscal and Nutrafol. So I did all three. So I combined the Viviscal and the Nutrafol along with the Propecia, and my hair grew back. But it took a lot of time. And it was so short that I literally wore a wig for 2 years.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends that are starting to get that as we get older. Everything starts to like break down. So we have thinning hair, a lot of puffiness, lymphatic stagnation, and a lot of the aging that you have like in your 40s. It seems to be more lymphatic based, like just like things slow down, maybe because we're not moving as much as when we're younger.
That's what I started noticing in my early 40s, that I just did not look the same. Like my 20s and 30s were great. By 40, I started noticing, like you said, sagging skin, puffiness. My body looked puffy, and that's due to the lymphatic issues, and my hair. Because before I was 40, my hair was super long, full. I didn't have to have extensions. Like everything was great. Now I do have extensions. My hair is naturally still, I don't have really thick hair, but I have a lot of fine hair. So it's fine. I still have a lot of volume, but that took time because of having to do the treatments. I did try the PRP as well. It was a little painful. It was kind of a jump start. So he did the PRP shots, the Propecia, which blocked the DHT. So if you do have DHT, and millions of people have it, you definitely should get tested, because if you don't have something that blocks it, taking like Viviscal or Nutrafol is not going to help. But for me, all three of them combined, my hair grew back. But it took like 2 years.
Yes. And any guys that are watching, do not block your DHT, because that can lead to ED for guys. It's different for girls.
Right. It's different for girls. And also, if you're not, but at that point, I wasn't going to have more kids. So that was the other issue. As long as you're not going to get pregnant, it's not an issue.
Yeah, that's true. So let's see. What about under eye problems like sagginess or wrinkles under the eyes? What can women do about that?
There are a couple options. I personally use a little bit of filler with the cannula. You have to be very careful under the eyes because if you hit an artery, like if your injector is just using a regular needle and you hit an artery, that can cause blindness. And has happened. It doesn't happen very often, but it can happen. But with the cannula, since it's rounded, it's safe. So I've done a little bit of filler under the eyes. I don't really have a lot of under eye problems, but also using a cream as well with coffee in the cream can help with puffiness. Some people I've heard, I have never tried this, use like preparation H under their eyes. I have never tried that. I don't really have a lot of under eye issues, but I've had some hollowness where I have used a filler like Restylane with the cannula. And there are other treatments that you can use that will create like your own fat under your eyes, or like people will do like a fat transfer. I haven't personally done that because I'm not sure if it's going to cause lumpiness. At least with the filler, you can control it and you can remove it if it doesn't look good. With a fat transfer, you're kind of stuck until it dissolves, and that could take a long time.
Mm-hmm. What about a PRP? Because I've seen it, you'd never know if you can trust the before and afters, blah, blah, blah. But I've seen the befores and afters for the eyes, and they look amazing. But at the same time, I don't know if that's for real.
Yeah,
So
I don't know.
what is
I've never
PRP?
tried the PRP. Now a friend of mine just did PRP X, and she just finished her last treatment and she loves it. She said her facial skin's really tight. I think it was like 3 or 4 treatments. It's called PRP X. I have not tried that yet. And I've done PRP in my face. It's been a long time. So I'm not really sure. I've done Skin Vive and that's kind of brightened and helped. Those are just little droplets. I don't know if you're familiar with
Like
Skin Vive.
mesotherapy.
Yeah. Well, no, the Skin Vive is like, it's made by Juvederm, but it's just like brightening. You're
Oh, okay.
still injecting, but it's just like a hyaluronic acid that you're brightening the face. So I'm not really sure. For me, I've done, like I said, the Restylane helped. I just don't really have the under eye issues yet.
And what are your thoughts on filler migration? Because a lot of people are now scared of filler because they maybe like they don't know how to like remove it properly, and then it just migrates to the wrong spots. What are your thoughts on filler?
I think filler is great if it's injected properly. I don't think there's a such thing as really bad filler. I think they're bad injectors. And I've seen complete horror situations where filler has migrated or filler is not injected in the right areas, and then they keep filling the same areas and it migrates to different areas. And it can be really challenging because when I did that Y lift the second time, I had so much filler in my face, and I don't even think all of it came out within the year because it was so deep. So when I did the facelift, then it was fine. He was able to remove before he started the procedure. I just think that you have to be very careful. And that's why I like the facelift at a younger age, because then you really don't need as much to maintain. I think it's really important. And the doctor that I went to, he's in New York, and he said the same thing. He's like, that's the best age for me as a surgeon to do the facelift in your 40s so you can maintain and you don't really have to do a lot. Like right now, I'll go once a month to my injector and I barely have to do anything because I like to do just a tiny bit at a time so I never look like I've had work done. For me, that's the key. Instead of going every 3 to 6 months where you're doing so much and then you have to wait for it to dissolve some, especially like in the lip area. I just do a tiny bit. I might do like a half a syringe.
So I remember once I got my lip, because I didn't have an upper lip. I had nothing. There was no upper lip. So I had it done, and I heard somewhere online that like if they do it in the right way, it can kind of like change the shape of the lip. So then you don't have to like really, because it kind of like flips it back up.
Yes.
So I found one person who said they could do it. They could not. Then I found another person who actually did it, and now I do not need lip filler, and it looks like I have a top lip just because like, I don't know, maybe the scar tissue or something like that. It just kind of like pushed it back up or gave it some support with some scar tissue and we like that.
Probably the way the injector injected it. Did she inject downward, or were you able to? Did she tell you exactly how she?
I have no
injected?
idea. I was just crying.
It's more of like a Russian technique.
Probably, yes.
I was going to get a lip lift, and my injector talked me out of it. She's like, no, let me inject downward to lift up, exactly what you're talking about. So there's a lot less space between the bottom of your nose and the top of your lip, as opposed to doing the lip lift, which is a surgical procedure. And the doctor that I had planned to go to is amazing. He's like one of the best in the world. But you still run the risk of the scar. What if it doesn't go away, or what if there's an issue? Like that scar is right there. So I decided, let me just keep doing the lip filler with that technique as opposed to cutting and scar. So I was a little scared about that procedure. And I did talk about that in the book as well. But if you're able to just keep using the filler, I think that's better than actually having to do a surgical procedure. I mean, unless you really have that much space genetically and there's nothing that you can do about it.
Yeah, but I really do like the idea of doing as little as possible, but just enough so that you look natural. Because I know like it's going to happen. What are you going to do? It's happening. There's nothing we can do. But if you just don't look, like tired, I feel like you won. If you could just avoid looking tired where people are like, are you okay? Did you sleep? Like, I hate when people say that. Like something's wrong if they're saying that.
That's true.
So let's talk a little about how hormones can affect. So what can we be looking out for our hormones, and how can that affect how we look?
I think it's really important for people to have more of a holistic type of doctor instead of just your regular OBGYN. I was lucky because my OBGYN is also holistic as well. So she thinks like outside of the box in terms of prescribing peptides and different therapies that aren't just your regular estrogen or testosterone. So I was lucky with her, but I also have my holistic doctor, Nadia, who is we're constantly doing blood work. We're constantly checking my hormones. We're constantly doing micronutrient testing, because if your hormonal balance is off, you're going to either gain weight, you're going to be tired. And it's good to test that at a much younger age. That way you can get ahead of it as opposed to waiting, because so many people wait until menopause or after menopause, and then they're checking their hormones through years of weight gain or feeling tired or moody. Once I got my hormones balanced, it was a game changer. I'm like a completely different person. I have so much energy. I take 3 to 4 different peptides a day that I inject subcutaneously, or I cycle, plus a vitamin shot because I'm a vegetarian. So I need the extra vitamins. Instead of taking them in a tablet form, I inject them every other day. And I take NADs, which has been amazing. Like the NADs are great. So once I figured out a way to balance myself, I have so much energy, much happier person. I have so much energy in the gym. I'm able to lift heavier weights. And that's also really important too for women as they get older, to make sure at least by 40 that you're weightlifting and you're not just doing cardio or Pilates. And Pilates is great, but it's not sustainable as you get older. You need to incorporate weightlifting as well.
I know it's the saddest part of life that I have to lift weights. It's the one thing I don't want to do, but what are we going to do? We need to have our muscles so that we age well. That's like the
Yes.
most important thing for aging for women. You need to have your muscles because it helps your bones and all the micronutrients. So what type of lifting is good for women? Because I don't want to like look like a big bulky man. I just want like the nice, strong, lean muscle.
Doesn't matter how much you're lifting. What matters is your diet. So you could go in at your size and you're eating the same amount of food that you're eating now, and you're not going to get bulky. That's a big misconception where women think, oh, I'm going to get bulky if I'm lifting this amount of weight. It's the diet. So my trainer, she is very muscular and she eats 150 grams of protein a day. And that's how she stays that muscular. So if you're not eating, if you're on like a bodybuilding type of diet, which she stays on a bodybuilding diet every day of her life, she has one cheat meal a week, you're not going to get that kind of bulk. You're going to get muscular and you'll be toned, but you're not going to gain that kind of muscle without the diet. It's impossible.
Yes. The saddest part for the diet is having to consume so much protein. I hate protein. I wish I could just, I don't know. I'll eat anything else. It's just the protein is very annoying to like eat for me. But I mean, I do it because I have to, and I've had to increase it to lose weight, which people don't understand. If you increase your protein, you can lose weight easily as well.
100%. So it's good to, if you can, to count your calories. So whatever you want your weight, whether let's say it's 120 pounds, then you consume 1,200 calories a day. I try to stick to that. I don't deduct for workouts because I'm always going over anyhow. So I don't have that mindset where I'm like, okay, well, I burned 500 calories, so now I'm going to eat 1,700. I try to stick to the 1,200. That seems to work. There is a protein shake that I drink that's 40 grams of protein. So that right there, I drink that at the gym. It's a couple hundred calories, 40 grams of protein takes care of that part. Then our protein donuts that I eat, somebody delivers them to my gym. Those are 30 grams of protein. So that's 70 before I even leave the gym. So I'm there for 2 hours. That's 70 grams of protein. And then I'll eat eggs after that. So by noon, I've already had 100 grams. And whatever I consume after that is just extra. But I feel like that shake, even though it's probably not the healthiest thing on the planet, but to find a shake that tastes good that has 40 grams of protein is, to me,
Impossible.
well, it's amazing. To me, it's like it's a game changer. Because I'm with you, I don't love it, but I know I have to have it. Because when I was at 50 grams, I wasn't gaining muscle, and I was working so hard, like 6 days a week of weight training, and I'm not gaining muscle. It doesn't make sense. And then my trainer kept telling me, I keep telling you, you have to increase the protein. And then somebody started delivering the donuts to the gym, and then I ordered the shake. And then all of a sudden, a couple months later, I'm building all this muscle.
What's the protein powder? Because it kind of broke up. I want to know the exact
It's a
one.
shake. It's pre-made. It's called MRE, and it's pre-made. So it's so easy. You just open it and drink it. It's 40 grams. I know that people say, because I've posted it before on my story, and people have said, oh, but it's got gum in it. It's not the healthiest. And I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect with my diet. I eat candy. I drink diet soda here and there. Like, I'm not the most perfect person when it comes to dieting. However, it works for me. And I feel like when you count your calories, that's a way better dieting, way better way to diet for me. It's kind of almost like Weight Watchers where you're on a point system than trying a keto diet or trying a diet where you eliminate sugar completely, because to me, that's not sustainable. We're all human. And I mean, yes, some people can do it, but I know that I can't. So I'd rather just count calories and know pretty much I'm eating the same foods day in and day out over and over again to make it easy, where I'm not really switching it up. So it works for me. But that shake, a lot of people that I know are now drinking it just because it's easy.
That's what we need. We need to make like the most easiest way to get the protein, because
Yes.
we don't like it. Women just don't like protein. So let's see. So what about the connection between the body and the mind when it comes to your hormones and your mental health and how that can tie in?
It helped a lot for me once I became more balanced with the right nutrition, the right supplements, the right vitamins. Injecting the vitamins, like I said, helps so much because when you take a when you take a vitamin like B12, if you're taking something like that in pill form, I'm not sure how much of that is absorbing into the body, but when you're injecting it, at least for me, I know I'm getting the amount that I need. And once I started doing that and I started really focusing at the gym, changing my diet, as a person, I just felt so much happier and so much healthier. And also I included life coaching as well. So I started doing everything at one time, like focusing on my nutrition, focusing on my workouts, being consistent with taking the supplements and the injections with the peptides. And once I started doing everything at once and really started being consistent and taking the time for the life coaching, it was a game changer for me. I really started to love myself way more than I ever had before. And a big part of that was because I wasn't taking care of myself properly. Like there were days I would just eat one meal. I wasn't really focused on my workouts. And now I might eat like 4 or 5 meals, small meals a day, and I feel great. Or sometimes I'll eat less, where I'll eat 3 meals, but then I'll fast. So I'll stop eating at noon and then I won't eat again until the next day. So I'll do that as well. But I just feel like a much healthier mentally and happier person.
So I want to know your thoughts on Botox because there's been a lot of talk recently about don't get Botox anymore. We're going off Botox. It can cause vagus nerve dysregulation. It can make you, I've even heard it can make you like a psychopath or a sociopath or something like that.
That's so funny.
And like all these weird things. And then I'm like, so should you get it? Should you not get it? What are the risks? Is it worth the risk, or is there certain areas that are more risky? What are your thoughts?
I've never had an issue with Botox. Now, recently, I did get Botox and I bruised really bad. It's the first time I've ever bruised, and I'm not sure why. Every every, I guess, little injection she did of the Botox caused a bruise. That's the first time that's happened. But in the past, I've never had any issues. I use Dysport instead of Botox because my body metabolizes Botox so quickly. And I feel like with Dysport, because I work out a lot, it doesn't metabolize it as quickly. So Dysport normally lasts longer. I try to only do it now maybe once or twice a year. And I try just using, the gua sha and some other tools that are on my Instagram as well for lifting, and that seems to help. So I feel like if you can be consistent with these other tools, you probably don't need it as much. Still don't think I can go without it. So, and I haven't really had any major issues. I mean, once in a while, like I go to the same injector all the time, but in the past, I've gone to an injector before where my eyes were drooped, or once we did Botox around my mouth and I wasn't able I was like spitting my water, that sort of thing. But it goes away. So you have to be careful. But any like major issues, I haven't had any. So I still like it. I'm still going to continue to use
Okay. All right. I still don't know yet. The vagus nerve thing is what made me kind of go, oh, being a potential psychopath, that doesn't sound as bad.
No,
as the
I don't
vagus nerve.
know. I don't really know anybody that has had any real issues besides maybe somebody putting the Botox too low and it droops their eyes or that sort of thing, but nothing major.
Yeah, I feel
At
like
least
a
I
lot of the
haven't
people,
experienced.
yeah, I feel like a lot of people that have the side effects are the ones that do it like on the shoulders and stuff.
Oh, maybe.
Because
Yeah.
you need a lot for that. And that's
Mhm.
when it can go wrong for sure.
That makes sense.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about some lifestyle changes. Like, what kind of lifestyle changes can we do to like help our hormones and make us look better and just keep the stress levels low?
I would definitely recommend breathing work, meditating, infrared sauna if you have access, the cold plunge. That's really helpful as well. Trying to get the toxic people out of your life. I talk about that in the book as well. When I started working with one life coach, he had helped me set boundaries. And that took a long time. I didn't eliminate the toxic people until age 50. So I feel like if you can do that at a younger age, like I always felt guilty. And then I got to the point where I'm like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I need to eliminate certain people from my life. That helped me a lot, as along with doing all the other things that we just discussed for yourself. But if you're able to eliminate the toxic people out of your life, I think that's a big game changer. And it's hard to do, but it's important.
Yeah, I think that's a big one, because when you're hanging out with people that maybe they make little digs at you, like passive aggressive, or just kind of like, jokes at your expense or things like that, just like not good people
No,
or
it's not
jealous
nice.
people or whatever, you're going to like respond to that. And sometimes you'll make like a downward face, like the droopy, like, cause you're like kind of like upset and you're like feel disappointed or whatever. And you'll hold it in your face. And then you're going to look older, and then you're going to look sadder, and you're going to look puffier, and you're going to be more inflamed after. And people don't realize that when you hang out with people like that, you actually become sick.
You do. You are like the 5 people you spend the most time with. I eliminated 2 toxic people, and I was friends with them for 35 years, friends from college. And I eliminated them in my 50s. And it was really hard to do, but I had to. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't hear the comments, exactly what you're talking about, the jealousy. It just gets to a point where, and I wish that I had done it earlier. Same with relationships. You have to see the red flags early on and eliminate those people from your life. And that's really hard to do.
Yeah, one of those people that believe that when you're around good people and in good relationships, you're going to look better because you're going to feel better, and everything is connected.
It's true.
And maybe that's kind of like a subconscious thing of like when we don't, like, we're not attracted to someone, it's because like they're dealing with a lot in their life. So we're just kind of repelled by it because we're like, oh, whatever they're dealing with, I don't want to get that. I don't want to be around
Exactly. When you're healthy and you're mentally healthy, you don't want those people around you.
Yeah. And it's not trying to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. It's just, you can kind of tell when somebody is like drained and draining, and you're just like, not
Even
for
their
me.
lifestyle. If you're around somebody, like let's say if you don't drink and you're around people that drink constantly, that's stressful as well.
Yes, I've never drank alcohol in my whole life. And I don't know, I've always seen people like drinking. I don't really care. I don't have any feelings towards it, but maybe if something that I was more like susceptible to, like, I don't know, having baked goods or something, like some sugary treat that looks really cute, like I'd probably be more inclined to fall into that. And to be around someone who's like constantly putting that in my face would be very bad.
Yeah, it's very stressful.
I think I once broke up with a friendship because I said, don't bring sugar over. And she came over with a pack of Coca-Cola.
Oh, she did.
Yes. And I was like, all right, that's it. And never invited her anywhere again. I know that sounds terrible, but it was not the first time.
Right. No, those are your boundaries and that's how you feel, then it's fine. I prefer to hang out, to be around friends that don't drink, or if they drink, it maybe a drink here and there, than people that constantly drink. It's very stressful to be around because I don't really drink. I mean, there are times that I will a little bit, but in general, I try not to. And I prefer to be around people that really have the same mindset.
I think that's very important. And what about like work-life balance for women and how that can affect your stress and everything. How can we kind of make that better? Like,
I think you have to
especially,
make your, I think you have to make it a priority where obviously your work isn't going anywhere, but you have to make your own fitness and health and nutrition a priority. You have to, if that means you have to get up earlier to go to the gym, or you prepare your own meals for the week, whatever it is, I think that has to be a priority, because if you don't make yourself, put yourself first, and you aren't the best that you be, how are you going to perform in other areas of your life?
very true.
Mm-hmm.
So, what advice would you give for someone who's just starting out? Like they're maybe like in their late 30s, early 40s, and they're like, okay, I need to start thinking about this. I'm starting to like
Mm-hmm.
age, but I want to age as gracefully as possible. What would you recommend for someone who's just like, they're not visibly showing signs, but they're trying to like have a routine in place
Mm-hmm.
so that they transition to their older self better?
If they just want like little tweaks, I would suggest starting with real non-invasive procedures or beauty treatments, such as like microblading your eyebrows or eyelash extensions, or even like the serum for your eyelashes to grow, or maybe like lip shading, which is just kind of like a tattooing that accentuates your lips, like very minor beauty treatments to start, as opposed to just jumping into a lot of filler, threads, Botox, that sort of thing. I would start really small if you've never done anything. Even like any kind of like non-invasive enhancements that I talk about in the book. And also doing the nutritional work and the workouts, because all of that you can do for yourself easily. Even if you can't afford to go to the gym, like you can do workouts on your own. Like you can walk and you can get weights for your house, and you can go on the internet and look at different workout options, that sort of thing. And doing the lymphatic work, that's work that you can do at home as well. So you can start off really small and not jump into the type of procedures that I've done. You can, and I talk about that in the book, where I just kind of mapped out like just minor things that you can do. There are peels that you can do in your house if you don't want to go and get a facial. There's a peel that I talked about in the book that's $14. It's called the Jesner peel that you can get on Amazon, and you can the instructions and do it yourself. So there's so many things that you can do to start where you're not doing anything that invasive. Or
Yeah,
little
that
enhancements.
that is so true. I love the Jesner peel.
Mhm.
I went to school for skincare
Oh,
back in the
okay, so
day.
you know.
Yeah. So I love the Jesner peel. It's the best. I love that one for if I want
Mhm.
something a little more deeper, like if
Mhm.
I have a scar or if I have a brown spot or anything. And then I do the Mandelic because it's like a lighter, non-irritating
Mhm.
peel just for like maintenance. If I don't really have anything, but I just want to kind of like refresh. And I swear by peels for like the texture, because if I touch a
Yes.
retinol, my skin everywhere just starts falling off. It's just a mess.
Mhm. There's also glycolic that you can order online as well, and you can do that for your body. So you could do like a 50% glycolic that you can do on your own, as opposed to, because I've tried the VI peel before
Mhm.
for my body and my face. I didn't really see a difference, but I do like the Jesner, and the glycolic peel for the skin is good as well. So you don't
Yes.
really even have to spend a lot of money to do like minor enhancements.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I use a body cream that has lactic acid,
Mhm.
and it sounds like it would be drying, but it's very moisturizing.
Yes, I have that
And
as well.
yeah, and it helped like it made my feet super smooth, like little baby feet, and it's like amazing. And it has lactic acid in it. Who would have thought?
The other procedure that I really like that is non-invasive would be dermaplane. So that women can do like once a month as well, and that will take off like the dead skin cells and whatever peach fuzz or hair that you have on your face. And that's just kind of like a little refresh, even if you don't want a facial. the dermaplaning is good as well.
Yeah, I love dermaplaning. I only get it before I do like laser hair removal.
Okay.
So I do laser hair removal. I found someone who does laser and it doesn't hurt at all. You feel nothing. It's amazing. And it actually worked. So we do like the face and the legs, the whole thing, and I don't feel anything. And the
That's amazing.
dermaplane also is like an added benefit. And a light peel, and you're good to go. So, all right. So, what about like surgical procedures? I know you mentioned you had a facelift. Anything else that you recommend?
There are a lot of them that I've done that I felt were beneficial. So the tummy tuck I had to do after I did the liposuction in my stomach, that didn't turn out that great. But for women, I didn't have that issue after I had my son where I had any type of loose skin or muscle damage. But for women that do, I feel like if you have all the loose skin or you have stretch marks, it's better to get a mini tuck or some type of a tummy tuck because you're going to feel so much better about yourself instead of walking around and hiding and not being able to wear a bathing suit properly. So many women I know haven't gotten it and they've had their kids like 20 years ago and they're hiding themselves at the beach because they feel so bad about the loose skin or the stretch marks where you can easily correct it. It's really not that big of a deal. So I feel like procedures like that will make you feel better about yourself, why not do them? Like for me, I had a lot of elbow skin, a lot of loose skin, and I cut the elbow skin. It left in the beginning a really bad scar. Everybody thought I was crazy. They're like, that scar is so awful. And I knew the scar would eventually go away because I knew that I was going to do the lasers that I needed to do to correct it. So now the scar is almost, so I just camouflaged it. I finally flattened the scar. It took 2 years with the CO2 laser and took the redness away with the V-beam laser. And then now I went yesterday for the camouflaging. So the camouflaging is just a flesh color tattooing that you can do on any scar. So if women are hesitant about certain procedures because of the scar, like the tummy tuck, that scar can go away. Like it doesn't have to stay permanently with the right laser treatments that I talk about in the book, or, and then in the end, camouflaging the scar with a tattoo.
Yeah,
So I just feel like any procedure that's going to make you feel good, better about yourself, why not do it?
I know now they just came out with some sort of like a gel tape or something like that that you put on like for the tummy tuck or whatever, and it makes it like more smooth and it heals much faster. So once that is like popular and stuff, I think the scars are not going to be as big a deal as they are now. I know that like I just had a C-section and that scar is gnarly. So I'm like terrified of like getting a tummy tuck or anything. And not that like I have a lot of loose skin, but more like for like a little hernia that I got from the pregnancy. So the only way you can fix that is you have to go in there and fix that.
Well, you already have the scar. So if they could go in the same incision to repair, then they would just open in that same spot. I don't know if they offered that or they suggested that.
Nobody that I went to said that. They're like, you got to do the full thing so we can get up in there. And I'm like, what about endoscopic? And they're like, no.
Oh, I see. But in the end, even if the scar looks bad now, and I've used those silicone strips that you're talking about, and it did flatten the scar, but also doing the lasers, like the CO2 helps any scar. So basically, if you're able to do the CO2 laser, that will flatten out the scar as well. And then the V-beam that I did helped as well take the redness away. Because once it's completely flat, I know some people will keloid, but once it's completely flat, that's when you can camouflage the scar. So I think it's just up to each individual person, and how your body scars as well. Like some people will scar worse than others, but even like the worst scar can be camouflaged.
What are surgeries that you would say nobody should get? They don't really do anything. Not worth it.
More like procedures like cool sculpting. I think cool sculpting is the biggest waste of time. I don't think it works. I've tried it to me, if you have fat in an area that you want to remove and you've tried everything and the fat's still there, then yeah, liposuction it. But like I said, just be careful with certain areas like your stomach or your knees. That's more challenging. Um, as far as surgeries, most of the surgeries that I've had, there was a reason for them, like rhinoplasty or breast augmentation, breast lift. Um, I've had pretty much everything, I would say. Like most, I've tried pretty much all the procedures. I feel like I said, I feel like a facelift in your 40s is definitely beneficial if you, especially if you have lighter skin. Now, I know some women with darker skin, their skin is great still. It doesn't sag at all. I just had a lot of elasticity in my skin. So for me, it was um, definitely important to do at that age. Um, I don't know if there's really anything that's like bad because I think that it just depends on each person and what your needs are. Because some people could go probably their entire life and probably never have a surgery and still look good depending on their genetics.
Mhm. And probably stress levels and probably
Mhm.
their
Yeah,
diet,
some
everything.
people that have never worked and they're like 50 years old and they look amazing because they haven't really had experienced any stress.
Hmm. Yeah. I have like a belief that women shouldn't see bills because it stresses them
Oh
out.
yeah,
It's not
that's
good for
true.
us. It'll age us. Don't show us the bills. I heard like in Victorian times, there used to be like a waiting room for women and the men would go and handle the bills because it was thought that if a woman saw that, they would get stressed and age faster.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. That's
We
so
need to go
funny.
back to that.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so there's several different types of like a liposuction now.
Mhm.
There's the laser one, there's the old fashioned types. I don't know what they call that one. And then there's like the smaller ones that they're
Yeah,
marketing. I think it's called like M Sculpt. There's
the
different
air sculpt.
something like that. Yes.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on those?
I love the air sculpt. So I actually did that procedure very similar after my son was born. I had fat in areas I never had fat before. And even though I had like 10 pounds left to lose, I went to a doctor who specialized in it's just kind of repositioning the fat as opposed to taking a wand, which I used the wand when I did the liposuction in my knees and my stomach, which, like I said, it was a bad idea. So when they take that tiny instrument and they're kind of repositioning the fat, for me, that was like the best, such a great procedure because I was able to reposition and he started from like my arms all the way down. He gave me more of like a heart shape, but that space, even though I was small, the space I had in between my legs was gone. So it was more of like that kind of diamond shape. It was great. So I went in for a hernia as well. And he said, well, look, I can do this whole procedure. And back then, insurance, so much of it. So we're talking like 21 years ago, it was $6,500, which was amazing to do the entire body. I like that. As far as like the big wand, it just depends on how much fat you have. I know a lot of women will go in and they'll kind of take out fat, reposition, like reshape their entire body, put more in like their butt area type of thing. I mean, it's all fine, but the air sculpt, and I talked about this the other day on Instagram, where if you are going in for like cool sculpt and you think that that's going to work, I don't particularly think that it works, but if you go in for like an air sculpt procedure in an area that you really can't help, like you've tried everything, why not do it?
Hmm. And you find that that one is less, it's probably like since it's so
Yeah,
small, it's less
it's
invasive, it's
tiny. Like I
less
have
scarring.
incisions from these from it's like teeny tiny little instrument and you have a teeny tiny scar. It's not like you won't even see it. It's so small. But you just have to be careful. And that's the thing, same thing with injectors. You just have to do your research and go to the right people.
Yeah. And do you have any tips for finding good people? Because I've heard horror stories of like, you know, the fat injections for breast augment, instead of like putting an implant, they're like, I want a natural thing. So
Yeah.
they're injecting fat into their breasts,
Mhm.
and they're like, oh, we'll give you this cream if you give us a 5-star review, and blah, 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 the scar creams and this treatment if you do. So there's all 5-star reviews. And then there's like a back room, and all the girls have like
Yeah.
lumps and bumps, and they just feel terrible. But the
The
reviews
same
up
thing
there.
with the BBLs, but a lot of those are doctors coming in, especially to Miami, and they're just renting rooms. They're coming from other countries. They're doing it a lot cheaper. So you just have to go to somebody very like I would never go to somebody like that to save the money. I just read reviews, but also look at before and after photos. Like when I decided to do my facelift, it took 2 years to find the surgeon. I just went through so many before and afters. I flew there, I met with him. I thought after meeting with him, he was amazing. And because that's your face, so you have to make sure that you're going to the right person. When I did my vagina reconstruction, which was more medical, same thing. He was world renowned, one of the best in the world. He teaches you also, it's good to find people that teach other doctors their procedure as well. So when I found the person for the lip lift, even though I didn't do it, he again was world renowned. So when you look at their before and afters, I mean, you can pretty much tell, I think, if somebody's good or not, especially after meeting them. Like I would never just go and set up the procedure without doing an in-person consult as well. So you just kind of have to go with your gut, but and do thorough research.
Mm-hmm. And it's always a risk, no matter how much research you have. So
True.
keep that in mind.
True. I mean, like I said, I've made a few mistakes. None that couldn't be corrected, but nothing's perfect. And
Exactly. So tell us a little bit about your book. Who is it for? And where can everyone get a copy?
I would say more for women from 30 to 75.
Oh, I think you're breaking up. I can't hear anything. I'll give you a few minutes. Your connection will come back. All right, guys, we're waiting for her to restart something. So thank you all for the non-trolling comments. It's been very, very great of you all. Very proud of you all. Enjoying all the comments that you're all leaving. Let me see. And remember, guys, do not drink beer. It is estrogenic. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh my gosh. Every single one of these comments is inappropriate. Inappropriate. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, maybe you guys scared her away with your. Oh, she's back.
I'm so sorry. I don't know.
No worries. No worries.
Yeah. Barnes and Noble and Amazon.
Alrighty. So I will put, yeah, I'll put all the links in the show notes so everybody can go check out the book. It's Bullshit to Botox, A Rebel's Guide to Self-Love and Eternal Youth. And I'll also put all the ways everyone can follow you and reach out to you if they need to, if
Okay,
they have
great.
anything. And
Thank you
yeah,
so
thank
much.
you so much for
Thank
being
you.
with us.
Have a great day. Thank you very much.
Start the revolution, let the truth begin. Wake up, defeating lies. Control media's got you hypnotized. Trust authority, they'll take your soul. Break the chains, find your own control. Wake up.